Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to?
Welcome again to Street Talk. My name is Ahmad Shakaraki. And on Street Talk, we deal with political, social, and economics here in Michigan, the U.S., and abroad. Now, joining me tonight,
Dennis Burnside.
Patrick Maynard.
Okay, man. Last week, I had to bring what Malcolm said, and I find that it's just some of us will never get over, this mushroom effect, where put us in a dark room, feed us a bunch of shit, and watch us grow. That's just the way a lot of us out here, and it's like we've been in this country almost 600 years the second time, and still we got these kind of people out here. I mean, what is it?
Man, we've had it's worldwide, man. We've had 30 generations since Africa was ruled by indigenous African rulers.
Mm-hmm.
30 generations.
Mm-hmm.
And in that time, we've lost our memory of our own institutions, our own legal systems, our own spirituality, our own way of treating family, women in particular,
Mm-hmm.
our own way of regarding each other in the way that we speak to one another in an impolite and insensitive manner.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see that this is, in many ways, just a continuation of that. These people that you say are mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
They've adapted to what they've been taught, and that's all they know, and that's all they're going to be. It's for those people who take the time to learn their history and learn their place in the world and demand their place in the sun that the future belongs to. So I can't waste a lot of time lamenting about the 18% that we have that will always coon, that will always cape for white supremacy and Western dominance, because that's all they know. And when you have people who don't read, who don't study, who don't have a retrospective bone in their body, don't have an introspective bone, they don't look in the mirror and ask, what am I doing? You're never going to get them. So for me, I don't waste any more time on them than wondering why a fly likes feces. It's just the way it is.
I hear you, man. Patrick, you were saying.
Yeah, man. Some people will never learn. And like I said the other day, the devil has his friends. And therefore, you're not going to get 100% participation on your side. So we're going to get some over there, but like Dennis said, we have 82%? And that's pretty good. Now, I would love it to be 100, but you're always going to have the defectors.
I could probably go along and could see this, but this is the most important election that we'll ever have. The most important that will ever be in this country, because we know if Trump gets in there, we know what it's going to be.
Well, you're asking the wrong group to step up. You really are. You're talking about African Americans comprise about 14% of the population, okay?
Yep.
And Hispanics is around 15%.
Mm-hmm.
They're predominantly voting for the Democrats and Kamala Harris, with a few demographic unique situations like the Hispanics. And I hate using that word because people who are identified as Hispanics in our culture come from diverse areas and cultures, and they're not all the same.
Right.
Much more diverse in African American
Yeah.
culture. But if you look at the Miami culture there, you have a lot of Cubans who came over when Castro came to power, and they haven't forgotten what it was like to be wealthy, and they haven't forgotten what it was like to have their property taken. So they'll always be a very right wing. But beyond that, the ones who should perplex you is white women who vote for the most retrograde, misogynistic, sexist, adjudicated rapist, liar, who has the IQ of a glass of water and who is an inveterate liar. And has shaped the court, handpicked the court, so that women don't have agency over their own bodies. And we've read about horror stories where women have been told to bleed out a little bit more in the parking lot, where you get sick enough that your life's in peril, and then I can take care of you. Women who've had to bear the child of their rapists, women who've had to bear the child of their uncle in some type of sick situation there. We've seen 10-year-old girls have to go from Ohio to Indiana to get abortion care, and then have the Ohio Attorney General threaten legal action against that child and the family. So I want to know, last time 52% of white women voted for Trump, and he had a record of misogyny and hate that was well documented. And now it's even worse with the outcome of what he's done as a president, polluting the land. And I want to know why we're still looking around 49, 50% of white women saying, yeah, I want more of that. That's who you ought to be raising the question to. Black folks, 82% of black folks going to vote for Kamala, and even with Little Big Head, some of these paid off rappers and some of these dumb athletes like Le'Veon Bell from Michigan State saying that he's a Trump guy. Even with them, man, you know, like I said in many times on this show, most of those cats ain't voting anyway.
Well,
and you need to just chalk them up to the coon Calvin and move on.
Well, you know, the reason I'm pushing this time is because there's not much room there, because in Arizona, Georgia,
North Carolina,
even here
Wisconsin,
in Michigan,
Pennsylvania, Michigan,
it's
it's tight.
close.
It's tight, according to the polls, man. But again,
you can't hold to that.
Yeah, the polls, I just don't give them much credit because they miss. Ever since Trump got elected and did what he did, and we start looking at these off-year elections, especially special elections, where women have been electrified and have gone to the polls and shot down proposals and shot down candidates from the right side of the equation in ways that the polls did not reflect. You saw races where it was 54% to 48% Republican leading, and they lose. There's a lot of women out here who aren't being polled or aren't being responsive, who had plans to vote, and I don't think they're going to vote to give up agency of their own bodies. So I'm not worried about those polls.
Well, you know,
in fact, I think we may be looking at electoral college blowout. I really do.
I'm hoping.
Well, you know, the thing is that when I see what I seen, I had a chance to see yesterday, black guys doing a commercial for Trump, talking about the vice president.
Yeah, man, that's Le'Veon Bell said, I want, you got to choose between Trump and the tramp, disrespecting the sister like that. But on the other hand, man, I saw
Wait.
Yeah, he said that. He said that he had a shirt on and he said that. So that dude will never mean a damn thing to me until I
Trump?
nothing he can say or do will ever redeem himself to me.
Trump?
Yeah, a lot of these cats are saying that. But on the other hand, man, in Detroit this past weekend, you had a several, because this is how young people rock nowadays. It's all online. And you saw thousands of young
Yes.
black Detroiters come online and call out some rapper down there named Trick Trick. And he's supposed to be real popular. You know, Detroit gangster. He's tough. He's
Yeah,
real.
yeah.
And he came out and he said something along those lines. And they let him have it. They said he's canceled. In fact, they put Le'Veon Bell in that category. So you're looking at the overwhelming number of young black people saying, those people don't represent me. So again, you can dwell on those coons, but they don't mean anything statistically, and they won't have any bearing on the election because, again, most of them don't vote anyway.
non-entities.
Well, I'm just hoping, they don't, you know, because again, this is the most important election we've had in this country.
I might just count them as non-entities. They ain't nothing better than that. Non-entities. They're useless. No good. You don't need them.
18%. Of that 18%, I would venture to guess maybe 6% of them are registered to vote and will vote. Of those talking all that, you know, Trump or the
Baloney.
Tramp crap. They, you know, they're irrelevant, man. What do they spend their time doing? Do they read opinion pieces in the paper?
No.
Do they pick up a book and read about a historical context to the dilemma that we find ourselves in today? No, they don't do that. Do they even go back just a couple generations and see what Jim Crow looks like and what they're ignoring to their peril if Trump is elected and Project 2025 is implemented, and all of a sudden they're not free to move about the country and say these stupid things that they want to say? It's going to come as a big surprise to them because they don't do their homework, man. These aren't
They're going to
well-informed
end up
people.
in camps.
And that,
Or worse.
That's the thing, man. It's like they just don't know. I was talking to a young guy at the Y a couple of weeks ago. And this guy, he didn't know any. He's about 25, but I say between 24 and 27 years old. He didn't know anything. I mean, anything about the election. I mean, you know.
Man, I was talking to a cat who was in his 40s, maybe 50s. And he was going on and on and on about how we're sending all this money to Europe for Ukraine, and we got homeless people here. And I explained to him that it's not from the same pot of money. One
Right.
doesn't affect the other.
Yeah.
And he couldn't let it go. And I finally asked him, I said, hey, man, what do you know about NATO? I don't know nothing about NATO. I just know they take. I said, okay. So you don't know what the North Atlantic Treaty Organization is or why it started. But let me take you back just 2 generations to your grandfather's life. If that man was of military age, he was impacted by World War II and what happened over there.
Yeah.
And one of the best investments the United States and the Western Hemisphere has made outside of their colonializing is to enter into a self-protection pact where they don't go to war with each other every 5 years like they have since time
Yes,
immemorial.
yes.
And causing havoc all over the world. That's good for you.
Yeah.
That's good for you.
Yeah.
And if we can ever get to the point where we can start talking about an AFRICOM, you know, an African treaty with an African currency, now we're cooking with gas. But that's the next step. But if you have chaos in Europe, you're going to have chaos all over the world.
Yeah.
And last time that happened, we're talking about something to the tune of 25, 30 million people
Yeah.
being killed,
Yeah.
lives cut short,
Yeah.
that many people.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that. Of course you don't know about that. Because the only thing you know about is when McDonald's has a special on their Happy Meals, what time the game's coming
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
So, man, don't talk to me about things that you don't know about.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk to you about Lil Big Head's new album, and you don't talk to me about NATO.
Right.
And what happens in Ukraine is as relevant to you as what the price of eggs is at the grocery store. That's relevant.
Yeah.
But what these fools doing over here has nothing to do with you, man.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. There's so many of us, you know, it's just so many of us don't know and don't care.
But again,
You know?
it's not that many. It's 18%. It's
At
18%.
least, buddy,
It's 18%.
that guy was honest enough to say he didn't know anything.
Well, he was proud of it. You ever talk to some of these young cats? I don't know all about that, man. I ain't trying to be the... Oh, so you like being ignorant.
Is the way you said it, man.
Well, hey,
Oh,
And yes,
that's a virtue, being
yeah,
ignorant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems that way, but what could you expect? The man they're following, he is proud of his ignorance.
Of course.
You know, and again.
Because when you're a tough guy, when you're a man, you don't need to do any old crazy book learning because you got it all up here anyway. You was born that way.
Yeah.
You know,
And-
with that
and-
empty head.
And that's what Dennis saying, man. It's a lot of these guys, man. They'll tell you, I don't like either one of them. The guy at the Wise told me last week. Oh man, I don't care nothing about either one of them.
Oh,
And it's like,
well,
yeah,
put it simple. It's time enough they all begin to care. Because one way or another, whoever is in office, whatever they do will impact on you.
There's an organization this past weekend. I saw it on Joanne Reed's page on Instagram. So I don't know who put the video together. But someone printed out a binder of Project 2025, all 900 pages. And they went to young black men and said, what do you know about Project 2025? And most of them said nothing, and I ain't worried about it. You know, a few of them said Trump's my guy. And they said, okay, well, read this. Read that. They started reading about Medicaid being taken away. And one dude was in a wheelchair. He said, oh, man, this screws me and my grandfather specifically. They started talking about the likelihood that they would close down the education department. They started talking about Social Security. They started talking about fundamental rights and fundamental things that you've earned as a citizen being taken away, and all of a sudden the tune changed. Well, wait a minute, man. I thought it was cool. I thought you didn't need to know any of this stuff.
You see?
But now you're seeing this, that they took the time to write a 940-page manifesto. Damn it, you think they ain't going to implement it?
Oh, man.
And when you put it in front of them and show them what it says, all of a sudden they lose some of that cockiness and some of that arrogance about who they want to vote for. All of a sudden becomes real. And I think that there's been enough of that going on to prevent that 18% ignorant coalition from getting any bigger. So again,
If we could
man,
drop it to even 10, it would have been a big thing. That's why all the
don't know if
time you
that's
hear
practical.
me say, educate, educate, educate. But some people don't want to be educated. They resist it. But then, who is their leader? Donald. He says he's so smart. He's smarter than everybody else. Donald ain't got more upstairs than old beat up.
Trump's own campaign acknowledges that. They canceled a CNBC interview with one of their
Yes.
right-wing commentators
Yep.
who would have been friendly. They canceled a 60 Minutes interview because they said they might get vetted, they might get fact-checked.
They don't want that.
They canceled interview after interview after
Yes.
interview because they know that Trump is losing what little bit of mental faculties he had in the first place. And now we had 2 cases last week where the dude was just straight up weird. The teleprompter stopped working. So he stood up there and had them play his greatest hits for 39 straight minutes. And his no rhythm
and then
toting ass stood up there and
say
swayed
dancing.
and pretended to orchestrate them. About 39 minutes as his people are wandering out. Then yesterday, or Saturday, he gets up on stage and starts talking about Arnold Palmer's Johnson.
Yeah.
This man is demonstrably nuts.
Yeah.
I mean,
And so I think that's one reason why his campaign is not allowing
They
him
don't
to go out
want
and
him to
speak
go
too
out
much,
because
the
he
more
gonna make a
talks,
mess.
the worse
The
it is
worse
for
he
them.
looks.
Yes, absolutely, man.
he was talking about Biden. Now, Biden came out for that debate. Biden was sick. He walked out there before they even opened their mouth. I said, Biden not well. He's sick. You could see it. When he begins to speak, he stuttered so much more than normal, because that pressure was on him. And then eventually they got him to decide to come out. But when he came out, I think it was a good thing, even though I wasn't kicking for him to do it. But it was a good thing, a good timing, because Madam Harris, Lady Vice President, Madam President-to-be, is going to kick his little butt tower to off from the first to the 9th hole on his own golf course.
Not only his butt, she went to Fox News
Yes.
Yeah.
and kicked Brent
his
Baer's
butt.
butt face
Yes.
to face and
Trying to
made
lie.
made him apologize for lying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because as Fox News did, and if you don't believe it, ask why they had to pay almost $800 billion for lying. They go up there and they manipulate things and they shade things, and if that's not enough, they outright lie.
Yeah.
So he's asking her about Trump's comments about being a fascist leader, going after his detractors and his critics, and calling down violence on fellow Americans. And Brent Baer asked for a video they had potted
Played
up,
the wrong thing.
which is not related at all. And God bless Kamala. She called him out and she said, that is not the video that I'm talking about. And you know that's not the
She tried
video.
to plain and
And
straight.
she made it such a rallying point that news outlet, even the Milquetoast New York Times, which I'm about to cancel my subscription I've had for decades, that's another story. Even they had to go in and say that, Fox News got caught manipulating the facts. It was so bad that they had Brent Baer march his big Ovaltine head butt out there and apologize. And it wasn't a mistake. It was
No.
a deliberate
Yeah.
manipulation, and she caught them in it,
It's-
and that's what they do.
Yeah.
That's the thing you got
But
to
that's
do.
also what she does. She's strong. She's smart.
Listen.
She leaned forward that whole debate.
Hell yeah.
Bring it on, little fella.
Oh, yeah.
Bring it on, little man.
That woman
You want
was
to
a
go? Let's do
prosecutor.
that. Yeah,
and she was
man.
prosecuting the
Yes,
case.
yes. So
And let
for
me
her,
tell you-
she ain't gonna get nervous.
Oh,
she
no.
ain't gonna get shook.
No.
And she's not gonna let anybody bully her
Right.
and lie to her face.
Yeah.
That's right.
And for me, if I wasn't going to vote for her, that would have made me say, if I'm looking for somebody strong and forthright and tough.
And not this weakling Donald.
Yeah.
Donald
there
is
you
a
go.
weakling.
Oh, he's a weakling.
And he
course he is.
and the guy he tried to out-talk her. She said, "Wait a minute.
Saying that, she stop him.
You want me to answer the you want me to answer the question?"
But they anticipated. They know how Fox gets down. And then on the other hand, you look at who their hero is.
yeah.
A guy who wears makeup. A guy who wears makeup. Who
He
won't
has
be
to.
shown without having some makeup slathered all over him, misapplied, white circles all around his eyes and his ears. I mean, he looks ridiculous.
Yes.
He wears his hair in a pompadour that went out of style when Elvis Presley first lost his career. Looks absolutely ridiculous. He looks like the last time he exercised was in 8th grade.
Yeah.
And they look at him and they say, "That's my paragon of masculinity.
yeah.
That's my role model for being a tough guy." And he's a fraud.
Yeah.
Everything, his intellect is a fraud. His wealth is a fraud. His so-called manhood and toughness is a fraud. The dude comes out, man, and he speaks in ways that make absolutely no sense.
No.
Somebody printed an article of a Trump speech about 2 weeks ago, and they said this is the actual transcript, and we're not going to sane wash it like the New York Times does. This is what he said. No periods, no commas, just rambling from one topic to another, nothing connecting, all disjointed, and Trump turns around and says that's the weave.
Yeah.
But the one thing that he does get right, let them ask him something about Putin,
Oh yeah.
criticizing Putin.
Yeah.
Let them say something about the Russian-Ukraine war. Oh, he's concise and
Yeah.
decisive then.
Yeah.
He comes right down on the right side because that's his handler, that's his boss.
Yeah, and what some of these people I talk to is like he, and they just don't understand. If he is elected, man, this country, no more voting.
Yeah.
No more voting.
Listen.
You know,
Yeah,
no
he
more
said
voting.
that. He said this will be the last time you
Yeah.
have
The
to
last
vote.
time.
Yeah.
And believe you me, if he gets in office, it will be the last
Yeah.
time.
Oh yeah.
So no in and if and but about that. But I want to throw out something here
Okay.
to all these people. Election is what, 15 days from today?
I think it's about
15.
15. Okay.
Mhm. What have you decided? Who have you decided upon? And I think you got two things. You mentioned quite some here just now, Dennis, about Kamala. Everybody knows this is an intelligent woman. She is calm, collective. She knows what she's doing and what she needs to do.
Mm-hmm.
You call it. Her record is there to show. Donald Trump, on the other hand, your choice. A sensible person or this lying, power-hungry bastard? He's a crooked, tax-dodging, draft-dodging bastard.
Adjudicated rapist.
Adjudicated
34
racist.
felony
What I was
convictions.
going to tell you, 34 times.
Yeah.
And not just that, he's a ninny. He's a convicted. Oh boy, don't get me.
Diddler.
Rapist.
Don't get me.
You're a rapist too.
Oh, I got them there
Yeah.
too.
You know.
Hey man,
He's
but
a
they,
hypocritical.
this is the party that is all about law and order.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what they've been preaching forever. Law and order.
Yeah.
mentally
Rule of law.
bankrupt.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
The man is mentally bankrupt.
The GOP, if you never learned this lesson before now, you'll know it now. The GOP is a white supremacist party.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. They can talk all they want to about fiscal conservatism, low taxes, responsible government that doesn't spend excess funds. They could. It's not what it is.
No.
It's not
no.
what it
Let me
is.
give you a
It's
couple
never
more things
been.
here.
They've always
dog.
dog whistled. They dog whistled to their racist base
Yep.
from Nixon
All the way.
on.
Yeah.
You know, the last time you had a non-racist GOP candidate that had any type of substantial impact on the country was Eisenhower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everyone since then.
That's a long time ago.
Everyone
Yeah.
since then, win or lose,
Yeah.
they dog whistle their white
Yeah.
supremacists that I'm with you.
Yeah.
So what we gonna go with? A hypocritical narcissist? A fear-mongering bastard? A treasonous, abusive rapist? Chicken, yellowback, yellow belly?
All
That
of
he
it.
is?
All of it.
Emasculated rapist? Donald Trump, the
Hey.
bastard?
I mean, he's all of them.
Weakling?
You know, he's all of them.
Just remember this before you go. Although we are talking about, we are looking at our national interests, whether or not democracy will stand. Rest that on a shelf here for a moment. You take the two people contesting this election. Even if your democracy is not at stake, what happened, and you mentioned earlier, Dennis, about these women. They don't have control over their own bodies.
No.
And if he continues if he goes back in office, it's going to be worse.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, what about your daughters? Dennis, you got daughters. I got daughters. You got a daughter.
Yeah.
I got granddaughters. I got great-granddaughters.
Mm-hmm.
Teenage granddaughters. Great-granddaughters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I got to think about them.
Yeah.
And if they are not allowed to be who and what they ought to be, believe it or not, we don't have a country.
No. But see, what this man, all he want to do is get back in there. He don't care about anybody but himself.
Keeps him out of prison and puts money
Yeah.
in his pocket
Yeah.
if he's reading.
Don't let anybody make you think that God chose America as his divine messianic force to be a sort of policeman of the whole world. God has a way of standing before the nations with judgment, and it seems that I can hear God saying to America, you are too arrogant. If you don't change your ways, I will rise up and break the backbone of your power, and I'll place it in the hands of a nation that doesn't even know my name. Be still and know that I'm God.